Hi, it's the Zen Witch with another unboxing video. And I just finished shooting a video on the Egyptian Tarot deck, which I told you is the shittiest deck I've ever purchased or witnessed, as a matter of fact. So, to wash that taste out of my mouth, I am going to unbox another Egyptian deck, and it is called the Cartouche, the Way of Cartouche specifically. And this is like the first deck that I bought, and I have to tell you the story behind this deck. So I was back in the late 80s. I was going through my spiritual awakening. I had been introduced to the craft when I was like 18 years old. Felt like coming home. I knew I was a witch when I was a little kid. And there just happened to be, when I went through my 20s and did, like, I had become a Catholic and all kinds of stuff, and I was starting to come back into my own spirituality and starting to come back into the craft and looking for resources. And that old thing about, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. Suddenly, I kind of said out loud, I want to study the craft again, and I need some information. I need to find a teacher. And within a week, a friend came up to me and said, "Hey, did you hear about the new witch store that opened?" And downtown in my city, there was a store called the Rowanwood Tree, which people in town misheard as the Rolling Witchery. So that's what it became called ever after, from those who went there a lot. And so I was starting to meditate, or going back into meditation. I was living by myself again after being in a relationship and living with someone for less than a year, and was really starting to open up and unfold. And I would spend every night in my nest, which was, my bed that was all cozy and full of pillows and wonderful light. And I was also doing a lot of internal processing of my path and my traumas and that kind of stuff. And this one night, I wanted to astral travel. I wanted to know about past lives. So I did a meditation, and I was visualizing a door in front of me, and I went and opened the door, and then there was another door in front of me, and I opened that door, and it was just one door after another after another. And as I went into trance state, suddenly I found myself sitting inside something. Everything was sand colored inside of me and fire lit or candle lit. And in the sand in front of me was a grid drawn, like one, two, three, down like that, of rectangles with symbols in them. And I had a snake in my hand. And I let the snake go, and it would go across this grid, and I would read the lines of where the snake went. A few days later, I went into the Rowanwood Tree and was looking at the decks that they had, and I saw this. This was in a box sitting on the thing, the Way of Cartouche, and I picked it up and immediately turned it over. And on the back, in sand, showed these cards laid out in a grid, and it just made me catch my breath because it brought that meditation right back to me. So I immediately bought it. Also in that store, I got my first pentagram, and it was a horns of Isis, which is an Egyptian symbol, and with a carnelian on it. And they had a black one, and they had the one with the red carnelian stone. And I gravitate towards black. It's just, I love black, as you can see. And so I went to it for some reason. Instead of going for the black one, I asked them to take them out of the case. Instead of reaching right for the black one, I went for the red one and immediately turned it over, and there was a pentagram on the back of it. And I purchased that. I was working at the time in an office where there was an evangelical person in the same office with me, sharing the office, and I couldn't be a witch out loud. And so I could wear my pentagram knowing it was there and invisible to everybody but me. So I bought The Way of Cartouche. This is a deck by Murry Hope. You can see I've had it for a while. Haven't used it in a while. That's the danger of having too many decks, is, it's an embarrassment of riches. So, The Way of Cartouche, an oracle of ancient Egyptian magic. The copyright is 1983, and this is, who's the publisher here? Guernsey, by Sekhmet Limited. Ooh, really? Okay, Sekhmet is a badass. She's the lion-headed goddess. She's a goddess of rage and a goddess of war, and she is a don't fuck with me goddess, okay? And being a Leo, I kind of vibe to her a lot. The dedication to my Leonine teachers, for whom time holds no frontiers, with love and gratitude. And there's a verse here. I have come from the house of the Leonine one. I left there for the house of Isis. I saw her hidden mysteries in that she let me see the birth of the great god. And that is an ancient Egyptian coffin text. Very cool. So let's look at the artwork. These will not be in order. I beg your forgiveness. Okay, did I get y'all? So as you can see, very small deck. And as you can also see, I have the box taped up because it was falling to bits. I do this with all of my cards that come in boxes like this. And see, I need to do it across here. I'll be dragging out the tape as soon as you guys are gone. Just because I don't like things falling apart. I like things to remain neat. I like the feeling of something sturdy. That's why I really love the current trend in boxing with these really sturdy, solid boxes and books. It just makes me feel secure. Okay, so here's the number 3 card. There's Horus. And as you can see, there are symbols up here. And the number and the image. 23 is Pyramid. 5 is Thoth. 24 Ankh, 19 Winged Disc. I'm going to kind of separate them over this way, actually. Bear with me if this is a longer video, you know, hang in there. 10 is Set. 11 is Fire. 12 is Air. 13 Water. 17 Crook and Flail. Let me get this out of the way for a second here. Okay, 17, Crook and Flail. 8 is Ta. He is the god of like building and geometry and logic and stuff. Okay. 7 is Neptys. Neptune is a counterpart. Hathor is the number 6 card. The Sphinx is 21. Earth is 14, and you can also see how I rearrange my cards when they're not in order. The Twins is number 20. Number 18 is Uraeus. Number 1, Osiris. 15 is Sirius, the dog star. Number 2, Isis. Number 22 is Scarab. Where do you go? Right there. 25, the Buckle of Isis. Remind you of anything, ladies? 16 is Lotus. Okay, so looky there. We got them all in order. In short order. So you have very simple images. Let's go to the book now to see exactly what is on these cards. So there's an introduction. The nature of Cartouche. So a cartouche is this shaped thing. If you see them in tombs and things, every time like the name of the person that's buried is mentioned, it's in this thing called a cartouche, this sort of oval with a line. You see it vertically most of the time is what I'm used to seeing. Okay. So let's just take a look here. Cartouche is based on ancient Egyptian knowledge and should not be confused with tarot cards. It consists of 25 cards, 1 through 9, which is Osiris, Isis, Horus, Basht. Where's Basht? Bashtet is not in here. Oh dear. She was over there. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So Basht, Thoth, Hathor, Nephthys, Ta, and Anubis. And Anubis too. Okay. I've been using. I know where they are. All right. Never mind. They're in a photo shoot down the hall there. At any rate, they represent the major archetypes. Cards 11, 12, 13, 14 are the elements of fire, air, water, and earth. And cards 15 through 25 relate to more general or mundane energies. Card number 10 is Set, representing the negative force or anti-ray and all forms of opposition, delays, hindrances, and unforeseen problems. So there's a refreshing change from the other Egyptian tarot in that there's one card that talks about negativity. Okay. Set can also indicate one's personal opposition to an idea, to change, or to a personal project. The 9 major cards correspond to the principal gods of the early Egyptian pantheon that was known as the Aeneid of Heliopolis. Although numerous other god names are encountered in the pages of history and records of archaeology, most of these can be classified as personifications of abstract principles, elemental or nature spirits. Okay. The ancient Egyptian symbols depicted on the cards capture the essence of the forces or energies that govern the universe. Many believe that the Egyptians gained their knowledge of these forces from an even earlier advanced race, who in turn were instructed by extraterrestrials from the Sirius star system. The symbols, colors, and meanings of the cards accord both with the designs found on Egyptian temples, pyramids, tombs, and old papyri, and with the secret arcane tradition that's been handed down from century to century. All right. Each card can be used for meditation, divination, healing, or magical or talismanic purposes. And when arrayed in the various formats described later in this book, can provide insight and answers to dreams, etc. Meanings of the cards are not limited to any one level of interpretation or usage. And here's one of the things I really like about this deck. The various levels of we have simplified the meanings into 3 categories: the spiritual, transpersonal, or superconscious level, which takes into consideration thoughts and concepts regarding religion, faith, spiritual seeking, past lives, etc. The psychological, mental, or subconscious level, which involves states of mind, ideas, attitudes, personalities, the interplay between relationships, and the material, mundane, or conscious level, which relates to the everyday, down-to-earth things in life. So, you know, if you're coming at it from a spiritual level, I've got a spiritual issue and a question that I need answered, you can read the spiritual part. If it's just totally mundane, it's about getting a job or something, you stick with the mundane level. When a card falls upside down, the implication is that the energies indicated by the card's nature are being negated, but care should be taken to ensure that the reverse interpretations are not taken too literally or applied too personally. So they're kind of ameliorating the negativity that can be written into the reverse meanings. Sometimes they will simply be messages from the subconscious mind of the inquirer that have been transmitted through the cards as a warning to apply the brakes on a particular situation. And with a regular tarot deck, I don't do reverses. I make sure that my deck is all upright, and I have found that, and I don't let people shuffle my cards anymore, I just shuffle them. I have found that if something needs to reverse itself, it will. But you've got 78 cards, and that's a lot of nuance. If you reverse them again, it would just throw me into turmoil. And the reverses, when they do show up, I look at it as you look at the basic interpretation of the upright and say, okay, that is turned on its head. It's either blocked, or it needs to happen and isn't happening, or it's its opposite. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at a reverse. Okay, so we are going to skip past the rest of this and look at, it talks about handling the cards, shuffling and cutting, interpreting, numbers and the significance they have, the methods for divination. There's a horoscope spread. And that's pretty involved. When you've got, how many cards? 24, 25? And you've got a horoscope spread that's got 12 houses and a significator in the middle. You know, that's a lot. That's half. That's half your cards. So I'm not into using whole decks for doing readings, although there are a couple decks that I have that's exactly what you do. But for the most part, with an oracle deck, I don't want to lay the whole thing out. All right, so let's skip over that. This is a pentacle spread, and I used to do this one a lot. I think I would lay it out differently now, because an invoking pentagram, you know, you start up here, down, and then like that. That's probably the way I would lay them out, where they start down in bottom left. I'd have to read why they say to do that. At any rate, we are going to take N card. So I'm going to just cut shuffle. And I guess I'm going to cut shuffle them a long way because they're kind of hard to hold. I'm going to cut shuffle through 3 times. I'm asking for someone to come out. And of course, Bastet and Anubis are not in the deck, but that's okay. Anybody else? Okay, there's 3rd time through. I'm going to cut and see who wants to talk to me. Sphinx. And now you can see how the book is laid out here. We have the number, the Egyptian symbol is a figure, half man, half lion. The Egyptian identity, Hamarkis, personification of the rising sun. And the nature is fixed. So there's also, cards that are fixed and cards that are movable. I think they call it. Movable, yes. Keywords for instant reference, upright meanings, secrecy, observation, love of animals, patience. Reversed meanings, indiscretion, inattentiveness, cruelty caused through indifference. The upright meanings, so there's the spiritual, transpersonal, superconscious. There's the psychological, mental, or subconscious. There's the material, mundane, or conscious. Okay. This card has much in common with number 15, Sirius, as its esoteric message would appear to be that out there in the great big universe, there are many intelligent life forms that might not always look like us. So by confining the concept of spiritual evolution to your own image, we produce a self-imposed mental barrier that could prevent us from assuming our rightful role in the cosmic scheme of things. A riddle indeed, but not really, if you stop to think about it. Sphinx in the 12th house would indicate a person who's facing this very problem. In the 5th house, someone who's bridged the gap through creative thinking. So they give you little examples here, if it's in particular placements, but they're not going to tell you every placement possible, so, just a couple examples. And once you go through the spiritual psychological material, then there are the reversed meanings, pardon me, on each of those levels. And then we have for meditation. Okay, let's read the meditation here. If you feel that something's going on behind your back, okay, that's ringing my bell. This is landing someplace, just so you know. But you can't seem to get to the bottom of the matter. Meditate on Sphinx and you will be surprised at how soon you'll be able to see around those obscure corners. And if you are one of life's chatterboxes, a habit which your friends may find irritating, let Sphinx help you to master your speech and put your obvious communicatory ability to more profitable uses. Sphinx energies can encourage a better understanding between you and your pet, and by seeing life through its eyes, you may more easily comprehend your own status in the grand design. Then we have as a talisman, which is one of the reasons that Anubis and Basht are in the other room, because I was using them kind of in a talismanic way. If you have difficulty keeping a secret but are required to visit friends who you know for sure will put you through a mild interrogation in order to find out what gives, put Sphinx in your pocket and it will help you to guide your speech along sociable but discreet lines. A nice talisman this for those who work with animals of any kind. And then it tells what it goes on about the symbol and gives you a full description of the symbol. And I want to go back to Anubis in order to tell you a little bit more why that card is not in the deck right now. So my daughter was on the road doing merch for a band and on a national tour and having a terrible time because the driver they had was horrible and was literally putting their lives in danger every night. They're trying to sleep while he's driving at night and he's rocking them all over the bandwagon. So she couldn't sleep. She was sick. She'd gotten dehydrated. She'd gotten food poisoning, was horribly sick, was having a terrible time, and was calling me freaking out because nobody could sleep and all this stuff. And so I took a picture of Anubis and sent it to her and said, now you have this in your phone. This is your talisman. And here is Anubis as a talisman. This is the most powerful and popular talisman of all. It is enormously lucky for all kinds of journeys. Slip an Anubis card in your luggage if you want to ensure that your belongings do not turn up in Bermuda while you are disembarking in Toronto. Having bad dreams, try an Anubis card under your pillow. Going for surgery, Anubis provides protection in the unconscious state. So if you take it along, you'll have an easier time on the operating table and wake up refreshed without perhaps some of the more unpleasant side effects that anesthesia can sometimes cause. Your psychiatrist may not approve of Anubis, but he won't be able to prevent the Anubis energies from helping him get to the bottom of your problems. He'll probably pat himself on the back and tell himself and his colleagues he was in top form that day. And if you're a comedian, then who better than Anubis to sharpen your wit and evoke from your audience the kind of clear, happy laughter that makes for good feelings on both sides of the footlights. In fact, Anubis really is everybody's best friend. Bottom line is, after she had this Anubis talisman with her for days, it was just a matter of a couple of days, they finally were able to fire their driver. And unfortunately, the band had to take over driving, but they were safe for the rest of the tour. So Anubis is powerful, talismans are powerful, and I will show you the best part for me. Be right back. For my birthday, my daughter got me this glorious Anubis statue. Isn't he gorgeous? So much better than I've seen a lot of Anubi, Anubises that are like big burly men, but he's got the sweetest face. So yeah, help people out with magic and you get really cool stuff. And they get to stay safe when they're on the road. And that's the main thing. So this deck, I do recall when I first got it, I only had the Rider-Waite, and that one was talking to me, but it was kind of like hard work. And this deck really helped me move forward as far as using a divination system. I have a lot of notes and a lot of journals from readings with this deck. So I would recommend it, especially if you like Egyptian things. It's nice because it's simple. There aren't that many cards. It was good for a beginner. It was very good for a beginner. And it's also good for now. So, doing these unboxings is nice because it reminds me of the tools that I've had for a long time and many that I've forgotten about because they've been overwhelmed by so many new decks. So, and this one, I would say probably moving forward, I will use more in a talismanic capacity because it really is powerful, and I do have that Egyptian vibe, so it really resonates with me. Artwork, it's simple but to the point. It does explain. I will show you here too. For example, the earlier ones. All right, Hathor. Oh, of course, I shuffled them. Okay, there's Hathor. So you see there's this little symbol up in the corner here. Okay, and the image. And so on these cards, the 1 through 9, that have those little symbols, it'll have the Egyptian symbol, which is a mirror. The Egyptian identity, the goddess of beauty, love, and strength, patroness of women. She's like the counterpart of Aphrodite. And then it talks about the hieroglyph, and this says the Sekhem, or power. And so here's Osiris. Let's look at him. Here he is. The symbol is the Jed, or Tet, which is a stylized tree. And here, the identity is the God King, the Lord of Light. The hieroglyph is the Ku, or the spirit. So you can learn, a little bit about some of these hieroglyphs that you see in the corners. So it's very cool. There's a lot to be had here. Okay, wait, I'm curious. Horus, there's a lot. All right, Horus, the all-seeing eye. The identity is the son of Isis and Osiris, brother of Bash, the Redeemer, patron of homes and families. The hieroglyph is the Sahu, or spiritual body, and it's pretty involved. Look at that. Look at that. So you go into focus and then you go out of focus. Come on. You can do it. All right, whatever. All right. So, again, I would recommend, if it's still available. Hard to tell. Some of these early decks that I bought are out of print now. But worth having, especially if you're into things Egyptian. So thanks for hanging with me in Anubis, and I'm going to bring Socrates in here before we go. Hey, Socrates. Do you like the Way of the Cartouche deck, Socrates?
You're a fucking winner.
Okay. Thanks, Socks. Thank you for being with me. Click like and subscribe if you dig what I'm doing here. And if you have decks that you want me to look at and unbox for you, let me know. I will get them if I don't already have them. And I put out every Monday, I put out new videos. And I might be throwing some more in randomly throughout the week. So glad to have you with me. Come back again next time. Until then, blessed be.